Welcome back to the Blessed Beyond Measure podcast. I'm your host, CL the Source. Thank you once again for tuning in to yet another episode. And today I have a special guest with me. I'm excited about this one because it's been a long time coming. And shout out to the homie, Justin Colonia, for the assist, because this person that I'm bringing on board today is super cool, super dope. She brings tremendously great energy, just like positive vibes all around. And her Instagram, I told her off air, is super inspirational, and just seeing what she does on a day-to-day basis is just been it's had a great impact on my life personally. So to get her on this podcast is super thrilling, and I'm so happy to introduce Mok. And I'm gonna let her introduce herself so I don't butcher her name. I definitely want to be respectful of that. So Mok, welcome to the Blessed Beyond Measure podcast.
Thank you, Chris. I'm so thankful to be here. Oh yeah, my full name is Mok Inphouva, but I go by Mok, like book, but with an M. So
right, and her Instagram is Mok like book, right? So just
yes.
to make it easier for folks, and if you don't mind, like what is your background, your ethnicity?
Yeah, so I'm Laotian. It's kind of like Thai, Southeast Asian, and my name actually means pearl in Laos. So.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm so happy I got to know that. And before we go any further, Mok, I just want to thank you for taking the time and being here. I know that you live a busy life. You live a great life from what I see on Instagram. And anybody that's following you can see that, like, you're just like doing things to enhance the quality of your life and finding those pockets of life and just really trying to do your thing to inspire folks. So I sincerely appreciate you spending the time here with us.
Oh, thank you again for having me, Chris. It's a blessing to be able to be on a podcast and to have, natural conversation and just like spread positivity in the ears of others.
Absolutely. And again, going forward, before we move any further, I just love to do a mental health check with my guest every single time. So on a scale of 1 to 10, would you, if you don't mind, how are you feeling on 1 to 10 on a mental health check?
I'd say like an 8 or 9. Like, I feel really good, and I'm thankful to feel that way right now.
Absolutely. That's great. And I love the transparency, honestly, because, people, especially sometimes I do it myself too. Like, I'll always say like, oh, I'm a 15, right? just to like project that. But, we got to be real with ourselves, right? To kind of know where we're at. I think it's super important to like check in with ourselves. And, to be quite honest with you, I'm probably at a 8 or 9 myself. Usually I'm at like a 10. But, for those that are aware, I have made the move out to Hawaii, and I have kind of been experiencing a little bit of homesickness. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to ask you about that too, because I know that you made a jump from where you were to the Bay Area. So we're going to get into that as well. And I'm going to definitely pick up some tips on how to kind of like rid yourself of that homesickness if you experience that yourself as well. So I appreciate you sharing that mental health check. So why don't we start there, Mok? Like, so I know you're in the Bay Area right now, specifically Oakland, California, correct? And you came from where?
I came from planet Mars. No, I'm just kidding. I came from Arkansas. So the South, yes. We're known for being natural, so the natural state.
The natural state, huh?
Yeah.
I've never been to Arkansas. I have no idea what goes on over there. So like, how did you even like set up shop over there? Like, if you don't mind us like getting into that backstory a bit.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Chicago, and I was raised in Chicago, and my dad, I don't know if it was a dream, but he was inspired by many of his friends to own a chicken farm business, which is pretty common in like the Lao community, Lao culture. So he moved to Arkansas to start a chicken farm.
Wow.
So he did it for the chickens.
And wow, that's dope. So you really like grew up in the country and like spent a lot of your years in the country. So that is very relative to what I got going on right here. As I told you off air, where I'm at in Hawaii, it basically feels like it basically feels so quiet, so peaceful. Like I told you, I woke up to a rooster. I wake up to a rooster in the morning.
Right?
So it's like such a transition and change from like the city. So it's actually the opposite of what you did, right? You came from the country area kind of lifestyle to like the fast-paced city area. So I'm curious, what brought you
Yes.
out to the Bay Area?
Definitely opportunity. I was living in a small town throughout like middle school and high school. That small town had like 4,000 or so people. And it wasn't like that diverse. But and then from there I moved to like kind of like a, I guess, a suburbish area. And I knew a lot of the same people, and you do meet some great people there, but I felt like my life was like in a box and I felt kind of stuck. Like
Mm-hmm.
my growth felt very stagnant, and I was just kind of like looking at other people's lives on social media that were experiencing life in other cities, other states, and just getting inspired like I should take a risk and move. So
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what I did.
That's incredible. And kudos to you, because I mean, to make a jump like that, especially leaving your comfort zone, right? That's like a lot of people don't do that. I mean, I highly encourage people to do it. And sometimes I'm guilty of it too. Like I revert back to my comfortable ways. So, for you to make that jump, it's incredible. How long have you been in the Bay Area?
It's been about 3 years now.
Wow.
So yes,
Are you loving it?
I do. I genuinely love the Bay Area.
Sweet.
It's been such a great and thrilling ride, with a lot of ups and downs, but I feel like my quality of life has definitely enhanced. Being
Nice.
closer to the water, the beach, it like is really good for my soul. So I'm thankful that I live like literally 15 minutes away from the beach and can go there every day if I want to. So
That's amazing. I think that's something you and I both share in common. I'm an Aquarius, so like I definitely love being around the water. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
one of the biggest reasons why I made this jump to Hawaii, just so I could be closer to water. Even when I was out there in the Bay Area, um, I was living next to Pacifica. If you haven't been to
Oh
Pacifica, you need
yeah.
to go check out
It's so
Pacifica.
nice.
Oh, it's
I love it there.
beautiful. It's one of like my favorite places. Have you walked Devil Slide Road yet?
I haven't, no. I've only been to the beach, but I'm sure there's more I'm missing out on and I
Oh
need to go
yeah,
check out.
Half
But
Moon Bay is like on that side too.
yes,
When you get
that
out
beach
there,
is so nice.
off air, I'll share some places for you to go check out. But you'll love it out there. They got some really cool, just kind of like town. It's like a beach town, right? So like you get some like really cool spots like right off the coast. And then
Mhm.
just the drive itself, it feels so peaceful. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those like really really chill drives where it's scenic, and you can stop at a bunch of places where there's like scenic viewpoints and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely something that you would enjoy.
It's gorgeous. The last time I was there, I went and got a sandwich and like just sat on the beach by myself. But it was really peaceful, and I went like pretty early at like I think 9 or 10 in the morning, and there was like a bunch of surfers, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know like that was a big deal in Pacifica, but I guess it is. And there was like older folks and then like little kids surfing, and I was just like watching them, and like I thought that was really cool that they wake up early just to surf.
I know, right?
um
And it's freezing out there.
I know, and I was like, are they not cold? But I guess like their swim wetsuits or whatever maybe have like a material that kind of keeps them warm.
Yeah,
Or maybe their love for the sport keeps them warm. I don't know.
right, right.
But I thought
It's
that was pretty
and it's
cool.
also just like even when it's uncomfortable, as long as you love it, like it's like you got to do more of what you love, right? And when you're able to do that, I think that actually enhances the quality of life. Would you agree?
Amen. Gotta
Right?
do what you love.
Absolutely. And Pacifica is definitely not as warm as like the East Bay. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
for sure, because I think the beach you're referring to is that Alameda.
Yeah.
I love it out there too. It's so like nice and
It's the
warm.
best.
It's
Yeah.
amazing, and you see
It's so cute.
the view of the bridge.
The view of the bridge, there's always parking. It's next to like boba and foods and like, yeah, it's like a one-stop shop. It just has everything.
Absolutely. And what do you love most about the Bay Area? Out of curiosity, so far.
Ooh, it's hard to pick, but top two is probably food, the beach. yeah, there's so much good food out here. Like
It's
there, I feel like
crazy.
there's still so many restaurants I need to try, but
There
everything
are.
I've had is amazing. And you can get like it's like a melting pot. You can get like Indian,
Hmm.
there's like Lebanese food, there's Hawaiian food, hot pot dim sum, boba on every corner. I'm really spoiled here. So
It's like you got everything you need right there, right?
yeah, especially coming from Arkansas. I mean, I tell everybody this, like the closest dim sum place was in Little Rock, and that's like 2.5 hours from where I lived.
Hmm.
So like dim sum was like 2.5 hours. Boba, we had like a few boba places, but I think it was like mostly like powder. So like, and I'm more of like the real fruit tea type of person. So yeah, I mean, to actually get good Asian food, you'd have to go to like Oklahoma City or Dallas, and that's a heck of a drive. So to
Heck
be
yeah.
able to have access to like anything I want within like a 15 minute radius is pretty cool.
Yeah, trust me, like the Bay Area is definitely a foodie area. There's so
Uh,
much diversity, like you mentioned. It's such a like a melting pot full of different cultures, and we get all this great food that we're just so like privy to. You know what I'm saying? Like especially in San Francisco and Oakland, I didn't really like explore too much, but every time I go to Oakland, I'm never disappointed with like the food places that my friends bring me to. There's some like great culture over there as well. um yeah, the Bay Area, like as much as I love it, I grew up over there, and eventually just kind of like felt the need to kind of explore elsewhere. Hawaii's got a great scene as well too. Have you been out here? Have you had the chance to come out here
I
yet?
haven't, but I've heard so many great things. So when you told me you moved there, I'm like, wow, you're like, yeah. I'm sure it's kind of like I guess depending on what you want, but like I can see it as kind of being like a step up from the Bay because of like just like the different when it comes to like beaches and stuff. I guess it depends on what you're looking for, but like from what I see in pictures and like videos, the water looks so clear and blue and just something out of like a movie, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like breathtaking, to be quite honest with you. And I've been fortunate enough to kind of be able to come out here several times before even moving out here, and I just know that every time I come out here, I feel so recharged. You know what I'm saying? It's something about the sun, the elements, the water, of course, the culture. So I definitely encourage you to come check this place out for sure at some point.
I'll need to. I heard the culture and like the food is awesome too. So that's great. You get to experience that now too.
Absolutely. And that's actually a perfect segue into my next kind of question for you, because I know that, I did a little bit of searching on your Instagram to do a little research on who you were and everything like that. Obviously, I've been following you for some time now, and we've been in connection with each other for a while now, but I see that you like to travel. So I want to ask you, like, what's your favorite place that you've traveled to so far?
There was like a bug in here. Sorry. So like I've been to I honestly want to travel more. I um recently went to Mexico, so that was last month for my birthday, and I went to where did I go? I'm having a brain fart.
That looked dope
But
too, by the way. I saw that like you were like working out at like a jungle gym or something like that.
yes, it was in Tulum, and that is like all over social media, the Tulum Jungle Gym. They're really famous for like their outdoor, like Flintstone type, gym equipment. But
Mm-hmm.
and it's right in front of the beach and next to like all these great restaurants. You can like beach, work out, eat, and repeat. It's so nice.
That's so dope. Like it looked gorgeous. Honestly, is it like a resort type thing too, where you stay there and you can use those facilities, and then, or is it somewhere it's like a destination when you go out there?
Yeah, so that was the gym is just a destination, but I was staying at a resort with my boyfriend. So we actually had to drive out of the resort and go to the gym.
Gotcha. Nah, it looks super dope. Like with the equipment that they had over there, made of like basically wood and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And like, man,
and
and then
rocks,
plus the scenery, the rocks, right? The scenery looked amazing. So that's dope. How is there anywhere that you haven't been to yet that you really want to go, that's like kind of circled on your list?
Oh, there's so many. I would love to go to Japan. that's on top of my list. So like Japan, I'd love to go to, what is the place called? It's all over Instagram. The Maldives.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that place looks gorgeous. But Japan for sure, because one, I'm like a big foodie and I've only flown through Japan going to Thailand, but I've never really got to experience like the culture or like well, I've had ramen at the airport, which was pretty good, but I would love to try like all the other foods. And I've had
Right.
friends that have gone and family, and they always tell me like how it's just a whole nother world out there, and the culture is just so like they're just so well respected, and yeah, it's just like safe there, and yeah.
Yeah, no, Japan is definitely on my list as well. I actually have a really good homie who lived out there for an entire year, and his experience was just the way he described it was incredible. And then my siblings went to Japan. I didn't have my passport at the time, so I couldn't join them. But
No.
I know now I got the process going, so I got my passport on the way. And when I get that, I'm about to throw some stamps on that bad boy for real, for real.
Right.
But yeah, Japan, like I definitely want to get some like have you seen Jiro Hero Dreams of Sushi or Jiro Dreams of Sushi on Netflix?
Yeah, I've seen like one episode, or like no, I've seen a little bit of it, not like the whole thing, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's so dope because he's just like a master chef at sushi, and it's like a dream of mine to like go out there and just sit there with somebody who's dedicated themselves to their craft for that amount of time and have just mastered it. Now, like you just see these pieces of sushi and you're just like, what? And it's just like an incredible experience that like I feel like I want to take part of too. So Japan is definitely on my list as well. So I don't blame you there. But you know,
Mhm.
shifting gears a little bit, I'm curious because, as I mentioned, one of the reasons why like I'm at a like an 8 or 9 on my mental health check is because I do get a little homesick at times. When you first moved to the Bay Area, did you experience that?
That's a good question. Honestly, I wasn't really homesick.
Really?
I was really happy to be out of where I was.
Gotcha.
And there's like, I guess, other reasons for that, but there was a, I don't know, I guess I won't go into like tons of detail, but like at that moment, my life was kind of spiraling in not the best way, and I felt like it was a blessing in disguise because it pushed me to move out of my comfort zone. And so when I moved here, I was like, wow, I mean, I have access to everything. It's just, it was a real like upgrade for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I actually can take away a lot from that because I think it's a mindset that I have kind of been shifting for myself because I chose to be here, similar just like you chose to be in the Bay Area, right? Like I went here for my own specific reasons as you did, and it's just
mhm.
like, of course, for me, like growing up in the Bay Area and like being close to my family and everything like that, that was like it's kind of hard to do that for me for sure because I'm so close to my family. But at the same time, I knew why I put myself here was to get outside of my comfort zone, was to experience more, was to learn more about myself. So hearing you say that is unsurprising to me because that's very much in line with the reasoning why I decided to come out here myself. So I think that it's gonna kind of subside a little bit more as the days go by and as I stay busy, right? I'm pretty sure you stayed busy as soon as you got to the Bay Area too, huh? Like you were just exploring and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I actually didn't have a job in line when I had gotten here, so that there was a little bit of pressure. But everything worked out in place, and a lot of like when I first moved here, I did a lot of exploring, and I was even like excited about going to Safeway because all we have is like Walmart, and well, we have Walmart, Target, and like other, grocery stores. But I was so amazed by Safeway because they have like sushi and Starbucks and like such a variety. And I was like, this is
Right.
so cool. And they have like $5 donut Fridays. And it's just like the little things that make you so happy. But yeah, staying busy, exploring, and just trying to experience like the fullness of like where you're at, really, I guess helped me enjoy it more. So I didn't really miss it, but like, you know, it helps me enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, like, what like are certain things that you do for yourself, like in the Bay Area that kind of help with your mental health? Because I'm asking because, you know, going to a new place, you definitely kind of have to make sure that your mind is right, right? It can wander. Our minds tend to wander if we don't kind of grab a hold of it. So I'm curious for you, like, what are certain things that you kind of learn to do for yourself, like, to kind of help with that?
I love that question, by the way. Mental health is a huge topic that I love to talk about. And I feel like more of our society needs to shed light on mental health. So, some things that really do help me would be being outside, like being by the water, being in nature, kind of like what you said. Um, Working out is a huge thing that helps my mental health. Um, I'd say affirmations, just reminding like yourself who you are and grounding yourself in that, especially when like, you know, your anxiety tries to talk you down or like makes you think negatively. It's good to like remind yourself what's true versus, you know, what's not. um, and yeah, just also being around animals and good people, good vibes. I believe animals are like really good for our spirit. And there's like a study, you know, it does reduce depression and anxiety. But I think on a spiritual level, they do help with any negative energy you might have. And like, they're just like the sweetest companions. So being around animals.
Absolutely. It's so funny you mentioned that because I think one of the biggest reasons why I was getting homesick, because I talked to my brother about this, is because I miss my dog. I was like,
Oh, of
I
course.
I
Yeah.
hella miss him, like that little bastard. Like I love
Yes.
him so much. It's crazy. And
And you weren't able to bring him, huh?
nah, he's the family dog. So like, you know,
Oh,
if I take him, like the family's gonna be suffering, right? So, but he's like one of my best friends on the planet. And you know, I think he's something about just being on Instagram too. I was like, my algorithm has a bunch of like uh dog a,
okay.
a bunch of dog like videos and memes and stuff like that. So it definitely made me get in my head about kind of just missing my dog. But I mean, thank God for FaceTime now, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, thank God for FaceTime. I FaceTime them like quite often in the first few days that I've been here. But yeah, some of those things you mentioned, I mean, all of those really are great tools that you can give yourself just to like enhance your quality of your thoughts, of how you feel, you know, just rejuvenate yourself. Just getting into nature is something I love to do as well. You know what I'm saying? And, I should mention too, with Pacifica, when you go out there, you should also look up, they have a dog surfing competition.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, look that up. I think it's like an annual dog surfing competition. This one might have already passed, but check that
Oh,
out. Like I didn't get a chance to do it when I was out there, but it's definitely something on my kind of like to-do list the next time I
that
come
is
back.
the coolest thing ever. Like
Is it like the
dogs.
combination of everything you just said right there? It's like the
Right.
nature and the animals and the surfing that people are doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. I think that would like cure my depression. Like
You'll love it. You'll love it. I mean, you could even just watch videos of it and just like
right.
find some joy in that. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh
one of the
man.
biggest reasons why I asked you that too is because I know something you and I both agreed we want to talk about is like life in the matrix, like living in a matrix, and you know that to some that's like catching wind on this right now to be like, what is Chris talking about? What is CL talking about? I'm curious for you. What does that mean to you? Like, what does living in a matrix mean to you?
Um, I would say, I guess my definition of living in a matrix is just being like on autopilot and where everything is just revolves around money and work and hustle culture, like, and like I guess losing yourself in that.
Mm,
um And I think what I had a big realization moving from Arkansas to California is seeing like a lot of the homeless population, because I didn't really see a lot of that where I was at, because cost of living is so cheap in Arkansas. I went from moving to like the cheapest place in the United States to like the most expensive. I still love it here though, but I think seeing like the homeless population, how there's so many, like I live across the street from a homeless park, it kind of makes you question, or it made me question like why, and like how is this fair, and like how, you know, there's different ranks and like our economy, you know, we have like the poor, middle class, rich, et cetera, and I'm like, why does this have to be a problem? And then also thinking about like work and how like my parents, or how many of us have to work for the rest of our lives just to like have our basic needs met. And yeah, so I think, yeah, my version of living in a matrix, or what I think living in a matrix is I think just like being stuck in like this world of like always having to work.
Yeah, I mean, great definition. Honestly, that's very much in line with my definition as well. It's just like understanding that like it's when you get lost in that, like you said, when you get lost in just making money and working, and it just becomes like you're a robot, like you're a cog in the machine, right? And it's like you recognize that it's like a simulation of some sorts, when that's not what life really is about, in my opinion. Like life should be about the experience. I read a quote not too long ago, which is I'm going to butcher this, but it said something along the lines of life is not a problem to be solved, it's an experience to be had. And it's like that really hit me, because I think a lot of times we're always trying to figure out, oh, how am I going to, make money to make ends meet? How am I? And, these are legitimate concerns. So I'm not knocking anybody that, has to, do what they got to do. But when we make our life like solely dedicated to making money, especially in this kind of, in this society where the priority is like on so many different things that are like not that important. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like I've actually recently adapted like a minimalist approach to life. So I like, even before moving out to Hawaii, I sold a bunch of my shit, honestly. And the feeling that I got of like giving away a bunch of stuff and just selling it, especially because like all the stuff that I either sold or gave away, I was barely using it. The feeling that was associated with doing that has been like so profound. It's crazy. Like, and you just create so much more space in your life. And I feel like that has helped elevate myself to a place where I feel like I'm straying further away from that matrix type of lifestyle. I'm still focused on making money, of course. Like I'm still definitely going to work my ass off. Like as I told you off air, this is what I want to be doing, right? This podcasting space, and making this my entrepreneurial lifestyle. But I'm not putting that much of an emphasis anymore on, like I used to work for corporation, like corporates and stuff like that. Not to say that I never will again, but some of those times that where I was working for a corporate structure, that's where I was like my most unhealthiest. That's where I got sick. That's where I wasn't taking care of myself. So I think that's what like the matrix is. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, so living in a matrix. So like, I think some of the things you mentioned, right? Like, what do you do for your mental health? Like, that's a way to kind of take yourself away from the matrix for a little bit, unplug. I think it's healthy to do that. So, those practices that you mentioned can help out a lot of people for sure. Would you say that like, is there one practice in particular that's the most beneficial for you?
I feel like working out is probably like the most beneficial. But what I've also learned is that, working out is maybe like an hour or so of your day. You still have to manage your mind for the rest of those hours. So I'd say working out is definitely helpful, but also kind of going deeper into like the spiritual aspect, which is like journaling, reading, um, and just I think being off social media and taking breaks when necessary is important. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And, you're right, because when you're working out, you're very present in that moment, right? Like it just locks you in. And then at the end of the day, after you work out, you kind of got to get back into the real world. And when you do,
right.
right, like what are certain things that you can do to kind of like, um, duck and dodge a bunch of BS that like you don't really want to be dealing with, right? So there are methods that I kind of do for myself. Like I mentioned to you off air, meditation is something that I do every single day where I'm just like, I
Yes.
gotta do this. This is a necessity. It's become such a non-negotiable for me nowadays that like
It's
I
good.
even if it's like 10 minutes, you know what I'm saying, where you just gotta
Oh yeah.
unplug for a second and just get at it. So I appreciate you sharing those methods with us. And you know um to anybody that's listening out there, we definitely are in a time right now where there's a lot of stuff going on, especially with social media, as you mentioned, right? There's so much. We're in a 24-hour news cycle, right? There's always stuff going on, so our brains
Yes.
need a break. You know what I'm saying?
I
And for
agree.
you, that's like working out, that's like getting into nature. Same with me, like when I'm playing basketball, or if I'm in the gym, or if I'm doing my own individual workouts, oh my God, I feel so much more better. And journaling has been a great one. What do you like?
Yeah.
What are your methods to journaling? Do you just kind of free flow scribble, or do you kind of have like a structure that you kind of follow?
I definitely scribble because I can't read my journaling half the time, but I just kind of like I just try to get it out, like I guess purge it out, what I might be feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great practice that I do for myself as well, where honestly, just like what we did today, when I checked in with you, on a scale of 1 to 10, I kind of check in with myself every day. I'm like, how are you feeling right now? um what's going on in your brain right now? I'm saying, stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
just doing stuff that you love to do, right? Like I know you mentioned you're a foodie and you love good food, so like out there in the Bay Area, you're so like, you get so much access to great food and culture. So just being able to reward yourself for doing things, for like surviving things, for going through things, right? Like that's a great method to help yourself out too, I'm sure, right?
Well, yeah, you always got to celebrate even the smallest things, and
Mm-hmm.
food is a great way to celebrate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I have some rapid fire questions at the end of this that I'm going to ask you, and it's gonna get into that a little bit. But I also know about you, that you love to dance and sing. Is that something that you would say helps your mental health as well?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. I love singing and dancing so much. There's just like, and I think it just goes back to music. Like I believe the way I hear music is very different and maybe rare. Um like I just feel all the emotions when I listen to music, and I feel it in my soul, I feel it in my bones, and it's such a good like outlet for me. And yeah, like singing, even writing music is a creative outlet, and like dancing, you kind of like it's a good way to like de-stress and just like yeah, just kind of be in the moment and just like move your body to the notes, and you don't have to like think about choreography, you just like free flow and
Mm-hmm.
freestyle. So
Yeah, it looks like a great outlet to just kind of get a lot of pent up energy out, and just like, you know, uh, just use that energy in a productive way, and use it as, an like I said, an outlet to kind of just let loose and just, be yourself for like however long that you choose to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think living in a matrix, right? We can't always be ourselves, right? Like, or we at least feel like we can't always be ourselves because we have to show up a certain type of way for our job, or for like, this and that. And so when we do get those pockets in the day where we can live in our truth, and be authentic and have fun and do what we love, those are like the best moments, right?
oh yeah, you gotta like really savor those moments and like yeah, just let it all out. That's like your time to kind of escape.
Absolutely. And, something that we wanted to talk about too, between you and I, when we were kind of like trying to figure out what we were going to talk about over here, is like staying true to yourself. Like, I want to ask you about that. Like, what does that mean to you? Like how would you break that down, and how would you encourage somebody to stay true to themselves?
Staying true to myself is being me and not caring like if people approve or not. um like I know for like a fact I'm like super different from like a lot of people I've met. And in the beginning when I was very young, I like wanted to do everything that I could to conform to like friends and people, and I just wanted so badly to be accepted, especially being like an Asian person in a predominantly like white school.
Right.
I always felt different, and I wanted to change my name. Like I wanted to just be accepted. But now that I'm older, I see that like all my unique qualities and what makes me different actually makes me powerful and makes me special. And I'm grateful that I'm able to see that now. So, I mean, as far as staying true to yourself, like you just have to be real with yourself and know like not everybody's gonna like you. They might not like your voice, they might not like your face, they might not like that you're funny. And yeah, you just have to like be okay with that and not take it personal. And continue to like shine and be you anyways.
And
Because what
how do you
matters at the end of the day is like how you feel about yourself, and if you love yourself. So.
Absolutely. And that's a great way to kind of like put the stamp on what you just said. You love yourself. Like, so like, um, I'm curious, like, how do you continue to do that in a world that can kind of like make you feel small, or make you feel like, being yourself is not accepted, right? Especially where you came from, right? In Arkansas, where you are definitely the minority, you know what I'm saying? So like, I'm asking because anybody that's listening that's going through something like that, like what goes on in your mind to kind of make sure that you make sure that that's the narrative that's being told in your mind.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of grounding, a lot of work. Because like you said earlier too, we can't really control like our external environment as much, but you can only control like what goes on inside like here, or at least try to. And a lot of that is again like reading affirmations, just remembering that like it really is like what you think about yourself, and how you judge yourself and how you love yourself, and like what kind of home you have like mentally. Because if you have that, then like when it rains, when things get kind of hectic or chaotic, like you have that grounding tool and you can like anchor yourself. So it's really important to have a good like have that self-talk, and just coach yourself and talk yourself, and reminding like who you really are, because it is going to get crazy. And I've had so many moments where like I have to like gain my control back, like I have to reground myself, and things get too like stimulating. And but yeah, it's just again, just listening to that inner voice. It can be really quiet sometimes, but it's there, and it's there for a reason. So I think just another good way to listen to that inner voice is kind of like what you said, is meditating and being like in nature, because that's where it's like most quiet. So less distractions.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I fully agree. It's important to make sure that you're in control of the narrative that goes on in your brain, you know what I mean, in your mind, because like we mentioned earlier, our brains can kind of just take on a life of its own. And if we're not kind of in control of it, it'll just take us down some really slippery slopes that
Oh,
are
wow.
really hard to kind of pull yourself out from, right? So it's
Yeah.
about making sure that every single day, as often as possible, we're doing things necessary for us to keep our mental health healthy, right? Like it's mental health. Like we want to make sure it's healthy the same way we want our physical bodies to be healthy. We want our mental to be healthy too. So those methods that you mentioned are absolutely powerful. And, you know, they say that the two most powerful words are I am and whatever comes after that, because, you know, you get to choose whatever follows after that. So affirmations, the power of affirmations is so real. Like, I
Right.
mean, something I do for myself a lot is just close my eyes and just tell myself I love myself. I forgive myself for making mistakes. I say I am this, I am that. You know, like right now, like I know that I am a content creator, a storyteller, a podcaster, a future vlogger. So I have to tell myself these things for it to actually manifest, right? And it's actually doing that. And I'm very, very proud of the process, but it hasn't always been easy, right? Just like I know it hasn't been easy for you, and it's not always easy. So in those moments, like you mentioned, where it does seem like super turbulent, what is there anything in specific that you do for yourself? Like for me, I simply rest. Like you said earlier, I get still and I'm just like, you know
Yeah.
what? I got to chill right now. I got to listen to myself.
No, I love that you mentioned that because in my earlier years dealing with anxiety and depression, I didn't even know like how to deal with it. And I was masking that and like a lot of different things that weren't the healthiest. But when it does get really chaotic, I would, yeah, I try to actually do less instead of like being frantic and trying to like control everything. Cause I feel like that like lowers my vibration and then things get worse. That's just through my experience. And I've learned that doing less and just kind of like trusting in the universe and breathing and like recentering myself is like the best thing to do when
Wow.
that happens.
Wow, that is so powerful right there. You know, because it's like we tend to think like the opposite, right? A lot of us in society tend to think the opposite, like, oh, when something's going awry or something's going wrong, we got to do something. We got to do something. But you just said that there's so much power in just doing less and just getting still and centering yourself and doing the simple things, right? More than
Right.
anything. And there's so much power in that. And I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more. And that's like, honestly, that's like such a gem that you just dropped. So I appreciate that. And I'm going to definitely kind of add that, incorporate that more into my life too. Cause even right now, I'll be honest with you, just getting out here to Hawaii, things have like been moving a little slow, which is great. I love that. Like I came out here, I'm from such a fast paced environment that slowing things down has helped me a whole lot more. And I'm starting to see the benefits of that. But there are inklings in me sometimes where I'm just like, all right, what do I got to do today? What do I got to do today? Right. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, like chill. Like, why are you putting all this crazy ass pressure on yourself? Like, let the universe do its thing. Like, trust yourself. You're creating the conditions for what you want to happen and to come to life, right? So just trust it. Take every day one step at a time. You know, do what you can each day. Don't overwhelm yourself. Make sure you come back to yourself and, you know, take care of yourself, and everything as a natural byproduct will take place, right?
Right.
So yeah,
Totally agree.
that's powerful. That's super
And like
powerful.
too, like our societies, like well, we're kind of conditioned to like go, 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 and you know, to make the next big move, to overcome the next, you know, to make another accomplishment and just keep adding like what's next, you know. But yeah, not saying it's a bad thing
Right.
to be ambitious, but I think it's also good to remember to like really enjoy the process and like savor the present moment and it's difficult, like it is, you know, easier said than done sometimes, but yeah.
Absolutely. You know, striking that balance of, you know, being ambitious, but at the same time, not, you know, like making sure you're enjoying the process. That's all pivotal to a life of fulfillment and like success and happiness and joy and peace and love. And it's just like, you know, you're right. It's not a bad thing to, you know, be ambitious or even have like a sense of urgency. It can be a toxic thing though, if like you're just like beating yourself up about it like constantly, right? And if we don't reel in our minds will do that. I know minds would do that all the time. Especially in today's day and age where we do have social media and we're comparing ourselves to other people's, like level 10 and we're at level 5 or whatever the case may be. And you know what I'm saying? We're not seeing what that person went through, you know what I'm saying? And I know my mind was doing that, which is why for so long I was off social media. Like I took myself off for social media for like over a decade. I really opened social media back up when I started this podcast, because I think during that time I had to do a lot of my own kind of like living without comparing myself, because at the time it was Facebook that was really, really popular. And I started to notice like a lot of my posts were really dark and really like sad and depressing. And it's because that's how I felt for sure. But I was like, yo, what's the source of all this? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not blaming social media because it is a tool, but
Yeah.
the source of it for me was just like, I wasn't complete in myself where I couldn't be happy for another person's success. I was just like jealous. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, especially for people that like, I felt like, oh man, we used to go to the same high school, blah, blah, blah. Like, look at so-and-so doing this. And I'm like, nah, I recognize in myself was like, I gotta stop that. Like that's envy. And I'm like, I gotta just pull myself away from this for a little bit. And I'm proud to say now that, being on social media, when I see somebody successful, I'm clapping, I'm
That's
rooting.
good.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, because why should we be jealous? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we should just be focused on our own lives and doing the things that we can to create a successful life, because everybody's definition of success is different. You know what I'm saying? And it's important to be aware of the energy that you're putting out, right? Because that's
Right.
what you're attracting. You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy how simple things are when you really kind of catch wind of it and realize it, right?
Yeah, I like how you said, just you're very self-aware of how you're feeling towards other people when it came to like them achieving success, and how you like were jealous and you kind of like had to check yourself in a way. And that takes a lot of like inner work, and that's awesome that you were able to work on that, because the whole jealousy thing is not easy to work on, especially I feel like me personally being a female. Yeah, it's something I struggled with a lot. Like probably in my earlier years, I'm way better about it now, and I have a similar mindset like you. Like if I see someone, with success, I'm like genuinely happy for them. Um, but to do the inner work, that it takes work. So kudos to you for, being self-aware and like working on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you as well. I mean, like, the inner work is exactly what we're talking about. All these different things where we're constantly doing what we feel is best for ourselves to be our best selves, right? And you're certainly doing that. You know what I'm saying? I see you, like, your posts are so positive and inspirational and just chock full of energy and
Thank
funny
you.
too. Like, you've got some really funny ones too, you know what I'm saying? And you're not afraid to show your like your I guess your mess ups, right? I think I saw one post where like you were doing like a box jump and you fell, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not afraid to do that. What about that? Like, um, what about those posts that you feel like you needs to be out there? Why do you post those things? And I have my own idea why, but I want to hear it from you.
For sure. So the posts that resonate with me a lot when it comes to like growth is, when people are real, when people show the non-highlight reels, or
Mm-hmm.
I guess the failure reels, that inspires me more, I think, than seeing someone with success, because I can relate to it. Not saying I'm not a successful person, but it makes you more relatable, which is why I love TikTok so much. That was super random. But, Instagram is very much like we post a lot of our successes, and we choose what we post. And a lot of it is our best moments in life versus our not greatest moments in life. But when I am on TikTok, I see more real people that are crying, that are like going through it. And um, but I see how that helps me, and I know if it helps me, it's got to help somebody else. So that's why I want to create more content like that, to really encourage others, like, that you're not alone, and it's okay to suck at something for a while. That's how it works, and it's uncomfortable, and we want to master things like from the get, but that's not how it works all the time. And honestly, when you suck at something and you keep working on it, and you like, yeah, I mean, you'll eventually see progress. And like when you record that progress, and you look back, you're like, damn, that's where I started. Like, and yeah, it's really important to just, yeah, be real with people, and show that like you mess up too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree 100%. And thank you for that, because it's just being authentic, right? You know what I'm saying? Because again, it's just like, you're right. We do see everybody's just the best side of them, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but to sit here and say that like there's no mistakes being made, or there's no failures, or there's no adversity that they have to overcome, or there's no difficult moments, that's BS, because
Yeah.
it's all part of the process. It's all happening for us. And we gotta, like, when I think when I see you do something like that, right, or anybody do something like that, I'm like, yeah, it's all part of it, because like this idea of perfection is so like far-fetched and unreal, to be quite honest with you, because like it's like not, it's not even about being perfect. You said the word earlier, it's progress. It's about making progress, little steps incrementally every single day, showing up every single day, getting better. And you're going to inevitably create momentum for yourself, see that progress, but it's all a part of the journey. It's all a part of the experience, right? I'll be real with you. Like when I first got into the gym, I was very self-conscious, you know what I'm saying? Very like, oh, I'm doing this workout wrong. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, people are looking at me, but ain't nobody looking at you. You just in there, just everybody in there trying to get right and do their own thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, bro, like how arrogant of me to to think that people are looking at me making a mistake, right? But like, I think the biggest thing that I learned from that is just like, you know what, man, just stay in your lane, keep doing you. Mistakes are part of the process. Enjoy it, embrace it, learn from it, grow from it, and become the very best version that you can become. And it's a lifelong process, right, Mok? It's like it doesn't stop. Like, you know what I mean? Like you make progress, it doesn't just stop there. It's like a continuous journey, right?
It really is. Yeah. It's like, um, and only God knows how many days we have on this earth, but it's, if we like overwhelm ourselves and think about like, oh, it's going to take a million hours in the gym to get to where I want to be, then like, we're going to scare ourselves, and we're going to talk ourselves out of it. But if you just focus on the one step at a time,
Yes.
it'll make things at least more like, it seems more doable that way. So you just got to look at the one step versus the whole staircase.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful quote that I literally was just telling my auntie about that quote last night. It's like, when you can't see the full staircase, just focus on the one step ahead of you. And
Yeah.
there's one that I love too. I don't know if you heard this one, where it's like, you ask him like, how do you eat an elephant?
Oh yeah.
You heard this one?
Yeah, go ahead. It's good.
How do you eat an elephant? And they're like, I don't know how. One bite at a time, because
Yeah.
it's like you can't eat the full elephant in one fell swoop or one big bite. It's like you got to take your time, and it's not even about eating an elephant, right? Nobody's about to eat an elephant, but but it's more about just understanding that, like, don't get too far ahead of yourself in your mind, right? Don't overwhelm yourself with how much you feel like there is to do to accomplish whatever task you set in front of you. It's more about understanding, just take it one step at a time, and the path will just continue to unfold for you. And then you create momentum. And then sooner or later, you got this like snowball effect, right? Where you're just rolling. You don't feel
Yes.
right without doing those practices, right?
Yeah. Becomes like a habit, or like you're disciplined in it now, and it just seems like natural.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everything you've been saying is like very much on par with a lot of the stuff that I've been incorporating in my life. And it's really dope, like to hear that you're doing your thing out there. I'm curious, on a personal level, Do you see yourself out in the Bay Area for a good amount of time, or is there somebody somewhere else that you kind of like see yourself at some point?
That's a good question. You know, I have thought about moving to like Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
So like another part of California, because I do love California or the Bay, but I've also thought about Hawaii, and I've thought about maybe even like living in other countries for like a few months and traveling.
Whoa.
Still trying to figure out exactly what I want to do, but that's kind of like what I've at least thought about is Southern California, Hawaii, or other countries.
And it's a funny question to ask, right? As I just clearly said, just focus on the one bite in front of you, right? Not. But the reason why I ask is because, you know, like I think you and I are in very similar situations in that, you know, you made the leap from Arkansas, right, to Bay Area, and I went from the Bay Area to Hawaii. And you mentioned something in kind of what your thoughts were, like that I've actually really considered too, is because, and it ties in with what you said earlier too, which is like only God knows how many days we have left on this earth. We don't know. Our time is not promised to us, right? So it's like, how can we make the most of our life, whatever that means to you, right? And I honestly feel so attracted to that idea of just living in different places for months at a time, just to kind of soak in that culture and travel and enjoy myself. And just like, that's why, like, honestly, like that whole minimalistic approach has been like one of the best gifts that I've kind of given to myself. I literally came here with 2 bags where I had like a bunch of other shit, and you know, that I wasn't using, and now I can travel pretty freely. Like even if I wanted to move, like I got places that in line that, like, say for instance, if Hawaii kind of doesn't work out for me or whatever, or if I feel like I just want to make a change, I got places
Yeah.
in mind like Seattle. I might go out there to the south. You never know. Like maybe
Arkansas.
even, yeah. Hey, I'll tap in with you like if I ever go to Arkansas for sure. But you know, the idea of just like being a nomad for a little bit, especially at this point in my life where I'm just like, I don't have any kids, I don't have any like crazy ass obligations or anything like that, like a
Right.
house. Like, why not, right?
I love that. Yeah, you're exactly right. Like why not? Like what could go wrong? Um, and there's so much more to see like outside of where we are. The world is so big. Um, so yeah, it's hard to decide sometimes like where do I want to go?
Yeah.
Just go everywhere.
Absolutely. It's like, where on the map do I want to go? And that's a privilege in itself, right? Like to be able
Yeah.
to even have these abilities to take ourselves wherever we want to go, and recognizing those blessings has just been, it's like that amplifies so much more of like what we can do in this life. It's like we're not pigeonholing ourselves or putting ourselves in a box, right? We're giving ourselves possibilities and looking at different things that we can do with our lives. And that's a blessing, ain't it?
Right, it really is. And you mentioned like going like moving closer towards like a minimalistic approach, which I think is great because sometimes me personally, I want too many things, and with wanting too many things, I forget that I already have like a lot. um, and you know, I used to think like when I used to compare myself to a lot of people, like I have nothing. And that's what happens when you compare yourself. Like you never win, like you always lose, and you just have like a really negative mindset. But um like even having like the simplest thing of having like a roof over your head, having options like in the fridge or having running water, like you know, you're very fortunate compared to a lot of people. And I started to realize that more as well when seeing a lot more of like the homeless population in Oakland. So yeah, I think, but sometimes I think that social media can make you feel like you have nothing when comparing yourself to like the Kardashians or like, you know, multi-billionaires or whatever. But like we're a lot more fortunate and blessed than we think we are.
Mm,
So
that's gratitude. That's the power of gratitude that you just laid out right there. And it's recognizing that like you have enough, You know what I'm saying? Like you have everything that you need. And that's like a huge blessing, you know, to have your basic necessities met, right? And just having a roof over your head. There's certain things that, I mean, we can go down a list of everybody that is listening to this, I'm sure has so much to be grateful for. And it's just like, I think I saw this on your Instagram as well. It's a quote that I love by Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right?
Ooh, fire.
Super fire,
So
right?
good.
Go ahead, talk about it.
No, I was just gonna say that quote is powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. Your mind really does create your reality. And like you can move to like several places and still have the same mindset, whether that be negative or positive, and that can impact, your life. And it's just really important to tap into perspective and to be aware of how you think, because I feel like for me personally, I've had to unlearn, you know, my negative behavior patterns, my negative thinking patterns. But when I started to really like shift and move more into like a faith mindset, yeah, the things I looked at started to change. I didn't dread this or dread that. I started to see like light in things and notice that I was the one that gave meaning to a lot of things. And I was the one that made this or that a negative experience. And there's a quote, I forgot who's it by, but I think it's like, life is all about like 10% of what happens and like 90% of it is how you respond. I probably butchered that, but it's just like, it really just depends on your mind and, how you give things meaning and what you attach to. And a lot of it I'm learning is just about letting go and yeah, gratitude's huge.
Absolutely. And that quote, actually, I posted that on Blessed Beyond Measure podcast page. That 90% how you respond to it. But
yes.
Honestly though, it's you're absolutely right. It's gratitude. Like what that can do for your perspective is absolutely amazing. It's incredible, the power of just looking at what you have, because what you have is so much more than other people's. And like you said, like we in the Bay Area, we get like such a huge slap in the face every single time we step out our doors, especially me in San Francisco, where I was at, living near Golden Gate Park. I mean, you see homeless people all the time with completely difficult mental struggles that they're going through. Obviously, a lot of them may be on a lot of drugs and everything like that, but from whatever got them to that point, they've had to endure so much. And have so much compassion for people that have to be, or that have gotten to that place in their life. I definitely like to reserve the idea that people can change. So, but at a certain point, like it does seem a lot harder and more difficult to kind of pull yourself from a hole. So it's important for us to maintain a perspective. And, like people question me all the time, like, how are you so positive? How are you so positive all the time? And it's like, it's not even about being positive. It's just about being grounded and grateful, to be quite honest with you. That's where the positivity comes from. Or like being aware of, my energy. Like, am I doing things, and am I operating from a place of fear, or am I operating from a place of love? And when I'm operating from a place of love, that's when like the best stuff happens. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when your energy's your most vibrant, right?
Agreed. Operating out of love is game changer. Life
Absolutely.
changer.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's like I'm guilty of it too though, Mook. Like I think we all are. It's like a human thing, especially in today's day and age where social media is so prevalent, right? We're seeing people's best sides all the time, and that can trick us. Our mind already plays tricks. Our mind already, like if we're not, in control of our own thoughts, our mind can really, again, bring us down these slippery slopes. So, there's another quote, and I'm like the quote master, honestly. Like I love quotes. Me too, because it's just like they just like hit you, right? And they make so much sense. They make it make sense.
Right.
But there's a quote, and it's super simple. It's like, comparison is the thief of joy. And it really is.
It is.
Right? It's like when we're looking at what other people have, like long ago when I was on Facebook and I was looking at what other people have, I'm like getting jealous and everything like that. I'm like, that is stealing from my joy. I'm allowing that to make me a negative person. And when you're not aware of that and you don't catch that, you'll fall further and further down that hole, and it can get really, really bad for you. So, you know, catching that is super important. And then when you flip that, when you're just like, dude, like, stop comparing yourself. Stop comparing your level 8 to somebody's level 15 or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's at different parts of their journey, right? So for you to compare yourself to somebody else is not fair to yourself. And you're just creating like suffering unnecessarily, right?
Oh yeah, the suffering part for sure. It's definitely not fair to yourself, and it's not like self-love, but the opposite.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like the opposite of self-love. You're like torturing yourself.
Yeah. You're like, well, what's the point? Then, like, you know, everything you try to do for yourself is like, it's going to go unnoticed. It's going to be overlooked. It's never going to mean anything because your eyes are like just so fixed on somebody else. And yeah, like, it's not healthy.
Not at all. Not at all. And Mok, you know, I definitely know that like we're running. I don't want to take too much more of your time. We're at like at a place right now where it is getting near the end of this episode, but so far I've like loved everything about it. I thank you so much for being here, and again, like just dropping all this value, because your story is going to help a lot of people. It's definitely helped me in a lot of ways for sure, and I'm just very, very grateful for you spending your time here for sure.
Thank you, Chris.
Of course. And before we get out of here, I want to give you a little fun way to kind of wrap things up. So I compiled like 4 rapid fire questions, and we can get into it a little bit. I know you're a foodie, so if you had to choose one or the other, what would you choose? Boba or coffee?
That's an easy answer, Boba.
Oh, it's Boba. Okay, that's an easy one. Okay, damn, I thought that was gonna be
a
a kind of hard
question.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, how about so you're a foodie. Dim sum or hot pot?
Dim sum.
Dim sum. Ooh, I think I'm gonna have to do the same thing. That shumai and the hargao, and I love the tofu skin rolls. Oh my god, like everything. Yeah, xiaolong bao.
Xiaolong bao. It's like an edible gift.
It's the best. Like they're so like, who knew that such small packages can bring such great flavor, feelings and flavor, texture, all that.
They're so cute.
Okay, how about this? I know you're a nature girl, like we've been talking about. Beach or forest?
Beach.
Beach. Same.
Without a doubt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm in Hawaii, but you get a little bit of both out there too. You get both too. There's so much nature out there in the Bay Area. It's crazy. Okay, this one might be a tough one for you because I know that both of these are something that you do for yourself and that you thoroughly enjoy. But if you had to choose one, dancing or singing?
Oh my God, that's so hard. That one's really tough because I feel like I love them both so much. But I guess if I had to pick, I'd say dancing because I feel like I can do that like spot on versus singing. I'm a little bit more hesitant and scared, but I still love it. Yeah, I like to move my body, so dancing.
Gotcha, because it's like a workout too, right?
Yeah.
And the beauty of these questions is you don't have to choose either or. Like you're
right.
You know, you live in a world that's abundant and you can do everything that you want to do. You're in a place to where you can do anything you want, right? And you're doing that just by living your life. Look, you're inspiring a lot of people. The energy you're putting out, I really appreciate it. And, you know, again, appreciate you being here. Before we get out of here, is there anything else that you feel like you wanted to touch on that we didn't get a chance to talk about? Maybe throw us a little nugget, a little extra gem.
I will say, this is just something I guess that's been on my mind is a lot of people that I've come across and just what I've had to learn as well is like, we spend hours working on our body, working on our hair and our face. And like, I feel like it's really important to like spend as much time on our character and being a good person and making a difference. I've always been that type of person, like since I was young. It's just like a woman of character and like wanting to make a difference. And I know that's not always like popular or like super attractive or cool. And that being, snobby might be like more popular, but I think if the world like worked on their soul more, we'd see a lot of good changes. And I think just like spending a little bit of time to make like the smallest difference in someone's life could make a difference as well. But yeah, I did start a personal training business like in 2020. And my biggest motto was like build muscles, build hearts. And like the biggest, like, I guess the reasoning behind that slogan or quote or whatever is just like, you can work on your body all day, but like if your mental health is out of whack, if you're not really like feeding your soul and your spirit or, making a difference, then yeah, like that external shell is only going to last so long. But definitely like invest in your spiritual side and yeah, work on your character, work on your heart. I think that's attractive. I think it's beautiful. I think we need more of that. And I love like conversations like this where we can talk about the matrix, spirituality, and just yeah, being like a good person. So I mean, if anything, it's just yeah, be a person of character and work on the inside, do the inner work.
Absolutely. Be the change you wish to see in the world, right?
Amen.
Mok, thank you so much. Honestly, this has been a great conversation. Again, I learned so much. I hope that anybody that's listening to this has learned a lot. And Mok, can you tell us how people can reach you, how they want, if they want to follow your journey and everything like that?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and TikTok. I made it pretty easy for you guys and for myself, but my my handle is at Mok like book. So it's MOK like book. So Mok like book. And I'm on TikTok and IG and YouTube coming soon, hopefully. So
Hey, we could be on the lookout for that. Absolutely. I'm excited for your progress and your journey. Just hearing all these different things that you do for yourself, you are absolutely on the right path. Keep going, keep doing you, keep loving yourself, keep blooming, keep bringing great energy to the world because we need it. And I really appreciate your time.
oh, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate your time and just like again being on my first ever podcast. I love what you're doing and you're making a difference by using your voice to like story tell and also connect with people. And you're talking about like really important topics that again need to be shared and heard more in today's society. So I love your ambition and I love what you're doing. And like I know that this podcast is going to continue to grow. And I'm happy for your move. It's huge. So thank you.
Thank you, Mok. I appreciate that. Absolutely. And thank you to everybody that's tuned in to the Blessed Beyond Measure podcast for another episode. I am your host, CL the Source, your friendly neighborhood hope dealer. Until the next time, stay up and stay blessed, y'all. Peace. Yeah.